Hello, everybody. Welcome to International Student Week. My name is Tim Bruce. I'm Executive Chef with Culinary Services here at Ohio University. And this is Julie Mentz, who is a student here at Ohio U, is also cooking with me today.
Yes. So we are going to have some meal from Ghana, the northern part of Ghana, made up of rice with beans and tomato sauce. And I'm sure Chef Tim is also going to add something very close to it.
Well, what I'm doing is jambalaya, obviously regional New Orleans, Louisiana dish. The reason I chose that because it's International Student Week. We wanted to show that tie-in and what the international students over the generations have really brought to our country. And the idea of jambalaya being a rice-based dish, that whole region's rice production was started by Senegalese slaves that came over and showed us how to cultivate rice in that area. So my dish doesn't exist without theirs, so to speak. So that's why I thought it was a good choice. And we're going to start cooking here and let Julie go first. Start going. I'll jump in, start my dish as we go. So Julie, why don't you show us what the first steps are?
All right. So I have with me here the sorghum leaves that is going to be cooked together with the beans, the black eye beans, and then I would add this to it. You can add saltpeter, but if you don't have it here, you can just use baking soda. It serves the same purpose. It's going to add color to the beans and the rice, and then it comes out looking purplish, just for the color and also for a nicer taste.
So what kind of flavor do you think the sorghum adds to it?
This is just going to give it the taste of plants in the rice, so that the rice doesn't taste just rice.
And you're using water as a base, not
it's water. I'm going to add water to the beans and the stock, and then once it's boiled, I just add salt and add the rice, stir it, and leave it to cook.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get started.
All right. So I'm going to put my beans right in. And then I add my sorghum stock.
Here is some water to start with and get more.
Yes. I add my water.
Oh, good. Probably should have measured that out first.
Thank you.
Huh?
Yes, about 2 of that. More, and then 1 more would be added. And then I would add.
Go ahead and add it in.
Yes.
There you go.
About a tablespoonful of salt. And then it has to boil for the beans to be cooked, and also for the sorghum leaves to also start coloring the beans. So that's what we are doing now.
Top middle one, I think.
That's right?
Yep. To all the way to right there, 9 high.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to cover it so that the steam will stay inside and ensure that it cooks faster.
Okay, so I guess while that's getting up to a boil, when we get some rice on, I'll start the jambalaya dish. The base, using 3 meats here, 3 proteins anyway. We have chicken thighs, andouille sausage, and shrimp. The sausage and the chicken thighs will cook first to start the dish. So for safety reasons, we're putting the cut glove on. And plastic glove. So chicken thighs. I chose chicken thighs because definitely have more flavor. They tend to stay more tender, especially if you put in a dish that's braised, like this is really doing. There's just a touch of fat on the edges or boneless, skinless chicken thighs. That fat is flavor. I mean, it's just going to kind of melt in with everything else as we cook. So definitely use it. The andouille sausage, you can see a secured sausage has a good amount of fat in it, as you can see as well. But it's always been secured and smoked, so it's actually fully cooked. We are going to throw it in with the chicken to get it heated through and kind of get some brown edges going on it, hopefully. And give it a second. So working with steel pans like this, you want to get the pan hot first, then add the oil. And that kind of gives you a bit of non-stick. If you start in a cold pan with the oil, you end up getting lots of sticking. Get rid of that glove for now. Okay, here we go. Chicken in, andouille sausage in. This probably going to take 6 to 8 minutes to get the chicken cooked through. Again, they're smaller pieces. And we need to just get them cooked through. We don't need to really get them hammered over high heat because they are going to sit and simmer for 20, 30 minutes in the rice dish. But by starting with this first, we'll add this cooked product towards the end of the rice cooking, kind of warm it back through. Plus, we're creating a bunch of flavor in this pan. We're then going to saute our vegetables in and the rice, and then the stock will be put in later. So. This will take just a few minutes. You ready yet for your?
Yes, it's
Not
not boiling
quite
yet.
yet.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the sauce that is going to go with it. So I'm going to cut my onions. It's basically onions, pepper, and tomatoes.
Okay.
Now, because some people might not eat meat or are strict vegetarians, we're going to make the sauce without the meat or the fish that goes with it. So that at the end of the day, the meat will be on the side, the fish will be on the side, the eggs will be on the side, so that whatever you choose to take with it, you can actually eat it without having any problems.
So as far as that goes, typically jambalaya is not vegetarian, but you definitely could make it with veggie stock, essentially tofu, seitan, something like that. In place of the meat components, you still have all the spicy flavors and all the fresh vegetables. So it is definitely doable if somebody wanted to make this recipe and just substitute the meat out and the stock out for something vegetarian or vegan even.
Obviously, yes. So I have my meat, but since we are not going to use that as part of it because it's going to be on the side, I'm going to season it. We'll fry it, but it will be on the side. It's not going to be in the sauce, so that if somebody is vegetarian, the person can still eat it. So I have my rosemary. They are usually the stewed beef, so they are small and very easy to cook. And I'm also going to add a little of complete seasoning to it to give it a little taste. So I'm going to start my sauce with the onions first.
So you had onions in there 2 different ways, right? You started early and you put some at the end also, I saw?
Yes, so what I'm doing is I'm going to use some to cook, but getting to the end, when it's simmering, I'll add another set of onions to stay crispy in the sauce to help it with the taste as well.
Yeah, I've gotten to a point now where the chicken is just about cooked, so I'm going to pull it off. Like I said, ooh, that's a little hot. There we go. And we're going to use the same pan to cook the vegetables in because, again, there's flavor in the pan coming from the chicken and the sausage we started with. So I'll be starting with what's called in Louisiana the Trinity. So in French cooking, mirepoix is carrots, celery, and onions. In Louisiana, they do what's called the Trinity, which is celery, onions, but instead of the sweetness from carrot, they do it with bell pepper. So I was told, like, not 100% sure about this, but the carrots don't grow very well down there. So the substitution came of a bell pepper instead. So this just starts the base of almost everything in that state. So to take the bell pepper, I like to kind of roll cut it. You're kind of getting outside out, but you're also mostly getting the ribs out. There's a little bit left. So just cut those like so. Now we're going to go to a simple julienne and a rough dice. You want to be neat about it, but again, this is a rustic dish. It's not like we need a perfect brunoise, so to speak. All right, same with the celery. You can see us, if you're watching, I'm trying to keep the knuckles back, of course, and move the food forward and kind of keep the knife basically in the same position you started with. That's the safest way. And I have a half onion here. Put it in. Go. Crank her back up. The typical ratio would be 2 parts onion to 1 part green pepper, 1 part celery. So if I got a couple cups of onion, a cup or so of each of the green peppers and the celery. And this pan's still hot. Add a little bit more oil. And these 3 go all at the same time, no problem.
So as the onions are cooking for the tomato sauce, I'm adding my pepper to it. Not too hot, because not everybody who likes it hot. Besides, there's hot pepper on the side, so that if you wanted it hot, you can still go ahead and have it with it. So cooking the pepper with the onions before I add my tomatoes.
So at this stage of the recipe, it's pretty similar, even though some different ingredients, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sauteing vegetables. I did meats. Your meats will be on the side, but same idea. So a lot of similarities.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. Now, I did, as I go along, I believe in seasoning as we go. You probably saw me season the chicken. I'm seasoning the vegetables. So small amounts over the course of the cooking process, I think, builds better, richer flavors. So.
And I'm actually adding some crushed ginger and also some crushed garlic, just to give it that traditional taste and flavor.
Love fresh ginger. And for my dish, we're looking to wilt over here. So we don't need to do a lot of browning. We just need to get the onions a little translucent, limp basically, but they don't need to be deep brown.
Okay. At this point, I'll be adding the tomatoes, which is crushed tomatoes. You can also use fresh vine tomatoes, but you got to blend that before you add it to the gravy.
So these are not quite where I want them to be, but we're on the TV filming time here, so we have one already finished. So once you get to this point, and the veggies wilted, and it's wilted some, that's when you add your garlic. You only want to saute with the garlic for a minute or two. You can burn it if you don't, and that always is a terrible flavor. Also adding in the chopped jalapenos at this point.
So,
and like I said, we're going about 1 minute to 2 minutes to get the garlic fragrant, but not burned.
so now The beans is boiling with the sorghum leaves, and so the color has started changing dark. Now to add a better effect to it, that is where you add the baking soda or the saltpeter. And for this purpose, I'm going to add a teaspoonful of the baking soda to it.
You feel that softens the beans?
Yeah, it softens the beans and also adds more color
Okay.
to the beans so that it can affect the rice to become darker.
Okay, excellent. Learn something new. Great. Okay. So now, coincidentally, at a similar stage, it is time to add chicken stock. And for me, she used water and tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Tomatoes are going in. Chicken stock is going in. This is also the time we get to add the spices. So we're using 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. You can get it just about anywhere. It's a spice blend. Also have a teaspoon of ground thyme. Do use the ground thyme, not the stick thyme. The sticks, nobody likes eating the stick. And then cayenne pepper just to kick the heat up a little bit. That's only like a 1/4 teaspoon. So this recipe, when made, can be extremely spicy. This one I've kind of set a nice medium spice level, I feel. I don't think if you're not a big spice eater, you could still eat it. And if you are a big spice eater, obviously serve it with some Tabasco on the side. You can always kick it up.
So at this point, it's boiling well. So I'm going to add salt to it before I add the rice. Stir and then cover it for the steam to cook the rice together with the beans and the sorghum stock. So. I'm using 2 teaspoons. Because of high blood pressure and these things, you don't add too much salt to any food so that everybody can eat it. Yes, so now the sauce is simmering. I'm not adding any stock or anything to it because the tomato has enough fluid in it, so it will cook with it. And then the rice, the beans, and the sorghum leaves, they are all done now. I've added the salt, so I'm going to add the rice to it and allow it to cook at a lower heat so that the steam will cook the rice together with the beans. So for every 1 pound beans, I'm adding 2 cups of rice to it. So I'm adding the rice. This is 1 cup, and I add the second one.
As you can see, we're kind of at similar stages in the recipe. Mine is now simmering, ready for the long grain rice that's going into this dish. My jambalaya. You can see, even though this is a rice dish, kind of like a stew, it's still very colorful between the tomatoes and the green peppers and the meats that'll be going in soon. So, same idea, bring it back up to a simmer, and then we're going to cover it.
Okay.
And we're
So now the rice is together with the beans, stirred with the leaves inside, and I'm going to cover it and give it a lower heat so that it doesn't burn underneath, and then it will cook.
2 pots, but only 1 lid. Who knows?
I know.
Okay, so how long does yours take to cook from the rice?
Rice, it doesn't take more than 1 hour. I mean, if you've done the beans and everything together and it's cooked, it takes about 40-45 minutes. You just make sure that the fire is low, the heat is low, and then it is covered so that it will retain the steam. That is what cooks it fast. Yeah.
So my dish, again, cooking similar rice, it's simmering, kept covered. This I cook about 20-25 minutes till the rice is almost done. And then we're going to introduce the shrimp and the okra.
Oh.
Okra can be a little controversial. It does have a slimy character about it sometimes, but actually in the rice dish, it actually does add some body. So, and with all the spices going on, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
All right.
Okay. So, TV time again. We're going to go ahead and go with the shrimp in and the okra in. Give it a stir. So at this point in the recipe, we've got the shrimp and the okra, and the shrimp needs to cook through. It will cook through when it's pink compared to the white. You see it now, and it's firm to the touch. 7, 8, 9 minutes, somewhere in there, covered. Once that's cooked, we'll reintroduce the chicken and the sausage to rewarm it.
But Chef, why
Yeah.
are you adding the shrimp now and didn't add it to the...
Because I want the shrimp, we're at the end of the dish being cooked. This took much longer to cook.
Okay,
So we want to introduce it at the end because the shrimp is going to slowly cook for the last, like I said, 5 to 7 minutes.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so if we have thrown that in first, the 30, 40 minutes of the shrimp cooking would have been,
Okay.
that would have been done for sure. I mean,
All right. I hope this gets done quickly and we can have a taste of it.
kind of,
So pretty much done because I'm just leaving it to simmer and then
okay.
yeah.
So assuming 7, 10 minutes have gone by,
Mhm.
I'm going to add back the sausage, the andouille sausage, and the chicken thighs, along with any accumulated juices. Any of this juice is juice that came out of either the sausage or the chicken, which again is all flavor we want to add in.
My mouth is watering already.
There you go. And like I said, again, it's a really substantial recipe. I think it says it serves 8, and that's 8 getting really happy, I think, because there's a lot of food in there. And now we would just let this simmer for about 5 minutes to kind of reheat the chicken, reheat the sausage, and let the sausage have a chance to add some of its flavor to the pot too. Because the andouille sausage is fairly spicy, so it really helps the flavor quite a bit.
All right.
All right, well, through the magic of television, we've got our finished dishes out here for you. And I'm going to plate first. As you see, jambalaya, rice, but still almost stew-like. And it's just finished simply with some scallions. And there you go, classic jambalaya.
All right.
Julie?
So my sauce is ready. And so there you go. And then, ta-da, the rice is also ready.
You see that color that those leaves bring.
So the leaves and the baking soda has turned the color. So I'm going to serve. And the beauty of this is that this is the rice and that's the tomato sauce. Beyond that, it's not spicy. So this is super hot, spicy black pepper. You can add that to it if that's your choice. If you don't eat meat and you want fish, this is fried fish. And this is fried tilapia. This is fried plantain. This is also an aside that you can add to it. And this is gari. That is cassava flakes. And you add a little water and some of the oil on the sauce just to color it. But ordinarily it's white. And then this is the beef fried very hard, so that if you wanted beef, you can do that. Then there's also spaghetti that has been cooked. You can add it to it. And if you don't like fish or meat and you can take the eggs, and that would add
that
on.
spaghetti was also tossed in some of the tomato sauce.
Yes,
correct?
so the spaghetti was also cooked, and then we tossed it in some of the sauce of the gravy. Yeah.
I think
So
that
there you
gari
go.
is a great idea because it adds texture to the top too. You know, rice dish, a lot of times you get the same textures and everything, and that's going to add a nice little crunch on top.
Exactly. So this
Kind
is
of-
separated. That
well,
is all together
Well,
on
kind of
one
like why
plate.
the scallions are on top of there. Give that little crunch up against the rice. So same idea.
Yes.
Actually, for me, working at a university, obviously you have lots of international students that work at the university, and one of my areas is catering. In catering, we actually now have 4 international buffet menus: a Middle Eastern, an Asian. We also have an African one, and I have a new one coming out that's going to be South American. So I normally try to pick the groups we have a lot of on campus, international students, and try to gear a buffet menu to go on our catering that fits that. So that's why I came up with the African menu, the most recent one. We have a ton of African students that work in residential dining and retail operations. So I try to base it kind of on the student population and try to find things. Even the African menu, we actually put out a questionnaire to the students and got some ideas back from them that I could then use on the menu. So that's kind of how I approach it working in the university. So.
All right. I would say that when you find yourself in a different environment, you try to find something that you can relate to. And so, for instance, when I was cooking the rice, I mentioned the fact that we normally use saltpeter, which is very easy to find in Africa. But I had to take to baking soda because I need to adapt. And that is what I try to do. And I guess all of us, we try to do that just to make sure that even though we find ourselves in a new environment, we pick things that can help us kind of replicate what we are used to back at home. Yeah.
So I hope this was interesting to everybody. I do find it interesting how the rice dishes are similar in so many ways, even though they taste completely different. So I really enjoyed working with Julie, and hope you guys have a great International Student Week. Thank you.
Yes, I would also say that I would say a very big thank you to Chef Tim. He's really helped me to put all the things together because most of the things I couldn't have found on my own. But he did all his best to make sure that he got me all the things that are required because he knows the system. I don't, so I'm learning from him. And thank you so much for your support and help.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I will enjoy it too.
Have a great week.
Thanks.